All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome back to the Everything College Football Podcast. Today I'll be doing my preview and prediction for the Boca Raton Bowl. Toledo versus Liberty. Rockets 4-point favorites, 53.5 over under. Tuesday, December 20th, 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time on ESPN. FAU Stadium in Boca Raton, Florida is the location of this one. Series history, Toledo leads 3-0 all time. Last meeting coming in 2007. Looking at the Liberty offense, losing Malik Willis, certainly costly. This unit, didn't completely fall off the, edge of the world, I would say, but, 28.3 points per game compared to 33 a season ago. They're nowhere near as productive and were explosive. Jonathan Bennett at quarterback, 58.5% completion rate, 1,534 yards for him, 12-9 TD that night, 12-9 touchdown interception ratio, 139 yards per game for him. And Caden Salter wasn't, much better. Had a 58% completion rate as well, 7-5 ratio, only 143 per game for him. So they certainly have not had great quarterback play this year. Bennett's been getting to go the last two games. But, this is an offense that I think, they really kind of have their backs against the wall here. Day Hunter, what they do run a bit of a 2 QB system, I think I should add in. So Bennett might get the start, might be Salter, but I think Bennett's probably the guy they're going to lean on more. Day Hunter, though, last 3 games, he has been out for this one as well. He suffered a season-ending knee injury a while ago. 854 and 8 touchdowns, almost 6.5 yards per attempt for the Hawaii transfer. Again, out for this game. Big chunk of production there. Seems to be pretty ideal timing, though. TJ Green, their lead back a season ago, did not play much in the early part of this season. He's really gotten involved more in the offense. 24 attempts, 119 yards a couple weeks ago against UConn. He ran the ball very well in a loss against New Mexico State. So I do think he's going to get the go as the lead running back, the senior. Shedro Lewis, though, he is the second leading back with 492 yards and 7 touchdowns. So I do think Green will get the start, but Lewis, I don't expect too much of a fall off, even though Day Hunter, it's a big-time player to lose for this offense. They're still going to look to feed those two backs, Lewis and Green. Demario Douglas, seems like this guy's been around forever. 73 receptions, 977 yards, 8 touchdowns, far and away the leader on everything this team does at pass catcher. Noah Thrift right behind him. Not really right behind him, but he is second in terms of production with 24 grabs and 424 yards, 17.7 yards per reception, about 2 grabs per contest. CJ Yarbrough, 15 for 214 and 2 touchdowns. So they're not very deep at receiver by any means. It's really the Demario Douglas show there. And this is also an offensive line that it's not good. 115th in FBS and sacks allowed. It's not great when you have 2 different quarterbacks getting the rotation. Top running back is gone, only, 1 good receiver. So this is an offense that, certainly is not Hugh Freeze's best of work, but he certainly expected that here with Malik Willis departing. Looking at the Toledo offense, DeQuan Finn, he certainly still struggled this year as a passer. They do average 32 points per game. Finn, though, 22 touchdowns, 12 picks, 2,127 yards for him. He's also ran for 608 and 8 touchdowns. 5.3 yards per attempt. This is a really good quarterback, I would say. He's been around a long time himself. They've certainly tried to get him to improve as a passer, still completing 59%. Not the most impressive of guys through the air, but his speed's off the charts. He's really tough to contain running the football. They have 4 different guys, though, with this rushing attack. They have 100-plus attempts, 40 attempts per game for this offense, 659 and 4 touchdowns. Jaquez Stewart is the leader in that category. Perry Boone, Micah Kelly right behind him. Not as efficient. They do have 370-plus yards each and a combined 4 touchdowns. And then you look at receiver, Jerjon Newton, 48 grabs for 788 yards and 9 touchdowns. They're not like Liberty, though. I'd say they have a few more options than just Demario Douglas. Devin Maddox, 38 grabs, 536 and 3 scores. Demir Blankhamsey, 470 on 37 receptions. And then a tight end, Jamal Turner, was 26 grabs for 325 and a whopping 8 touchdowns. This offensive line, 116th in tackles for loss allowed. They certainly do have, 40 attempts per game running the ball. It's going to expose you a little bit more for that. Only 60th in sacks allowed. So I think this offensive line is certainly a little bit better than the Liberty one, but not great by any means either. Going to the Liberty defense, this is a unit that's really kind of carried them this year. 25 points per game allowed. Darrell Johnson, he's just been exceptional. 22.5 tackles for loss, 8 sacks. One of their veteran defensive linemen. Dennis Ozagidi, 12.5 TFL of his own. Ahmad Walker at linebacker is 11. And then Kendi Charles, the 4th player that has double-figure tackles for loss at defensive tackle, 10 of those of his own. Very deep defensive line, full of some veterans, full of some young guys as well. You also look at another guy at linebacker, Mike Smith, who leads the team with 69 tackles. Javon Scruggs, a senior that's been around a long time. Him and Darrell Johnson, they've been through some pretty hefty ups and downs through their careers here at Liberty, but these guys are the two leaders on defense, and they've had exceptional seasons. Scruggs, he's a leader in the back end for them. Juwan Treadwell at corner, he's probably their best coverage guy. He's also been a pretty respectable run defender as well. Top to bottom, though, I do think Johnson and Scruggs are by far the top players at defensive end and at safety. Johnson, he's a guy who'll line up in a variety of different ways, though. 14 picks for this defense. Robert Remy has 5 of those. This is a defense I really like. They've certainly forced turnovers. They get into the backfield, 23 forced turnovers. First in college football with, 100-plus tackles for loss. This is a defense that really gets after it. That's no slouch one bit. 109 of those on the year. And then for sacks, they have 41, which is also right there towards the top of college football. Treshaun Clark, he's also been around a good bit. So this defense has got plenty of veterans. They also got some of those younger guys stepping up. Clark hasn't been as effective over the back half of the season since he came back from his injury. Still a guy that can certainly get involved in any given game, though. So 25 points per game allowed for this defense. Very good number. Very good against the pass. 58% allowed by opponents. Only 15 touchdowns compared to those 14 interceptions. 144 rush yards per game. It's going to be an interesting matchup. I can't wait to see this D-line against, an offensive line that's towards the bottom and TFL's allowed. That's going to be the biggest matchup to watch. Looking at Toledo defense, they give up, a good bit of points, 25.5 points per contest, but their numbers, I'd say, are pretty good, 332 yards per game, much like Liberty. They have a great front seven of their own. Dejon Johnson, 16.5 TFL, 5.5 sacks. Jamal Hines certainly doesn't have the production he did last year. He had Darrell Johnson type of production, but he's having a great year from his outside linebacking spot, 6.5 sacks, 55 tackles, 9 TFL, and he's got 6 pass breakups as well. He's been a great, dynamic defender for them. Deontay Johnson, 103 tackles, 8 tackles for loss for him. Some very impressive, productive players on this defense. And then you look at a corner in Quinyon Mitchell that has just been exceptional. 5 interceptions, 20 pass breakups. That's just absurd production on the ball this year for him. And again, the 25 points per game is certainly, a number that's really going to, pop out at you. But I think for the most part, being overlooked would be how much production some of these guys really bring to the table. 17 total turnovers for this defense. I definitely think they've been the backbone of this football team. 33% conversion rate on third down. I think they've really carried this football team over the last couple of weeks. They did have some struggles against Bowling Green, but the last 2 games, the offense really sputtered. But the defense, 262 allowed against Ohio in the MAC title game, then 188 in a loss to Western Michigan. These are just pretty absurd numbers. So this is a really good defense. They even held Eastern Michigan to 217, Ball State to 281. So this is a defense. They certainly get after it. They're playing an offensive line rather, gives up a lot of sacks. That's going to lead you to the final thoughts on the prediction. Liberty, they lost 3 straight, mixed in with the Hugh Freeze hangover. That's just the team checked out the last couple of weeks. Got blown out by New Mexico State. UConn, I think that was probably the most points they've scored all season in that game that they lost, 36-33. Virginia Tech, they lost to a P5 opponent by a point there at home. 3-game losing streak. Now your head coach is gone. The offense is not that great. The lead running back is gone. Quarterback play is not that good. Offensive line, not that good. But what gives them, you look at a game like that and you think Toledo's going to blow them out. And I have them winning 31-20, but you look at a matchup like the highly impressive defense up front that, again, leads college football in tackles for loss against an offensive line towards the bottom of CFB in that category. Playing a highly productive front seven, that's going to be a big key. Don't take negative plays. And I think they certainly will take their fair share of one, but I think this running game, they're going to have plenty of speed. I think they're going to make plenty of plays on the edge. They're going to have plenty of opportunity as well. I think Liberty's offense, they're really going to be held to a stalemate in this one, much like the last 3 weeks. So I want to take Toledo to win this one. Higher confidence points on this one. I think there's no reason they don't get this one done. That's going to be it for today's episode, guys. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. See you next time.